question. When you write a Python code, how does the computer understand it? Does Python read it line by line, like teacher reading a story? Or does it translate the whole thing at once, like Google Translate? That's exactly what we are going to uncover today. Hello, learners. Welcome to your learning hub, the Learning Loop. If you are joining me for the first time, thank you for dropping by. I am Swati Sharma, and this is the sixth video of my beginner friendly Python Pro series. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos yet, I would highly recommend you to go back and check those out so you are all caught up. In this video today, we are going to answer the most common beginner question: is Python compiler or interpreter? And don't worry if you are not aware or does not know the meaning of these terms, because by the end of this video, not only you would know the meaning of these terms, but you would also know how Python works behind the scenes. So, without a further ado, let's dive in. Let's first understand what is compiler and what is interpreter. Let's imagine you have written a recipe in English, but your friend only understands Spanish. Now you can help them in two ways. The first way would be that you translate the recipe into Spanish first, print it out, and hand it over to your friend. Your friend can go over the recipe and cook it anytime. The second way would be that you sit with them in the kitchen and translate it on the spot step by step. Like add salt, chop onions, boil water, etc. etc. See the difference? In one way, you are translating the whole recipe even before the cooking begins. In the second way, you're translating while cooking. And this is the exact difference between a compiler and interpreter. Let's try and connect this analogy and see what is compiler and what is interpreter. A compiler is like a full translation upfront. It takes the whole code, converts it into machine language, that's zeros and ones, and then computer can run it quickly whenever you want. And this is how the languages C and C++ often works. An interpreter is like a step-by-step translator. It looks at your code, runs one line at a time immediately. And this is how the languages like JavaScript works. Now the question is how Python works, or how Python behaves. Is it an interpreter or compiler? At first look, it feels like Python is an interpreter. You write a line, run it, boom, immediately you have an output there. But that's only half the story. So Python doesn't jump straight into the execution. It actually compiles the code first into something called bytecode. Now let's understand what is bytecode. Think of a bytecode like a shorthand notes of your recipe. So it's not your original code, but it's not the machine language either. That's zeros and ones. It's a low-level set of instructions that only Python itself can understand. And these are actually stored in .pyc files under pycache folder so that your Python doesn't have to recompile the code every time. Now the code has been converted to bytecode. Now comes the Python virtual machine, PVM. Think of a PVM as a teacher that takes that shorthand notes, that's bytecode, and explains them carefully, step by step, to the computer so it knows exactly what to do. So now we are aware that Python just doesn't run your code directly. There are actually two steps in the backend. First, it converts your code into bytecode, the low-level set of instructions that Python itself understands. And then PVM, Python virtual machine, read those bytecode instructions and make sure computer actually actually carries them out. Now, here's an important detail. PVM, the Python virtual machine, actually doesn't convert your bytecode into machine code, that is zeros and ones. It actually reads the bytecode instructions, or it actually interprets the bytecode instructions and matches the low level operations that's written in another language, C. Now, this brings us to a very interesting point, which most of the beginners are not aware of. That the most common language or the most common flavor or version of Python that we use today is CPython. And the C in CPython is actually stands for the fact that it is written in C programming language. So while we write everything in Python code, in the backend, it's actually the C which executes it into the machine code that's zeros and ones and runs on instructions. And I would also like to highlight that CPython is not the only flavor that we have of Python. There are other flavors as well that are available, have other uses like Jython, that's written in where the Python backend or Python language is written in Java, like CPython is written in C. So there are other flavors as well, and I don't want to dive too deep into it. So we will keep it at that. What you need to understand is that Python first compiles everything into bytecode and then passes it to um, PVM, that's Python virtual machine, and it's Python virtual machine which read or interprets and acts as an interpreter and interprets each bytecode instruction and matches it with the low level operations that written in the C language, and then C language actually executes the code or actually compiles it in or compiles it to machine language, that's zeros and ones, and executes our code. So that's why calling Python just an interpreter or compiler is not completely true. It's actually a mix of both. So to answer if Python is a compiler or an interpreter, I will say Python is both a compiler and an interpreter. And that's actually one of the features or strengths of Python, because it gives you the ease of an interpreter where you can write a line of code and run it immediately and see the results, and gives you the structure of compiler where it saves the bytecodes so that you can reuse those bytecodes and run your code again and again. So just to recap what we learned today, now, by the end of this video, now you're aware what is compiler and what is an interpreter, and you now can also answer if Python is an interpreter or a compiler. Before we wrap up, I would like to go over what I would be covering in my next upcoming videos. In the very next video, I would be introducing variables to you guys. And once we have understood what variables are, what are the different conventions that you can declare a variable, we will start diving into data types. The very first data type that we would be covering is numeric data types. And once we have learned numeric data types, we will then dive into text or string data types and the Boolean data types. That's it for today, guys. If you like my content, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram for daily Python tips. I'll see you guys in next video. Till then, happy coding.